Okay, let's get the sweet ending started finally, shall we, Mr. Ari? So, first choice. We are locked out of the stubborn trait, so we're not doing that again. Instead, we're going to be analytical and ask him to please let us go. Please, Ari. I need to see it for myself. It's not like I'm asking you to let me wander off on my own. I'm not going to run. For a moment, Ari looked as if he was weighing the benefits of letting me get up versus trying to make me stay.
Dr. Sosky will complain if I let you leave.
I don't need to go far. I want to see more than this one room.
I hardly expect the distance to prevent his complaints.
You're more afraid of his complaints than mine? I mean, I would be. Given what he'd said about my abilities, that could have sounded more threatening than I wanted it to, but it worked. After another moment of indecision, Ari went to a nearby cabinet, pushing a silver button to open the door.
I'm not terribly frightened of either of you. However, you still haven't fully recovered. You may be feeling up to a brief walk for now, but if I allow this, you must give your word that you'll return when asked.
That's fair enough. I promise. He pulled a stack of clothes from the cabinet and brought them to me. I looked down at the familiar blue shirt, too surprised to take them at first.
I assume you'd prefer to wear something other than a medical gown when you leave.
Oh, yes, thank you. To be honest, I hadn't even registered what I was wearing. I took the clothes from him.
I'll wait outside then. Please do not overexert yourself.
I'm getting dressed, not running a marathon. I think I'll be fine. So he doesn't stay to see if she needs help. Interesting.
If you'll excuse me.
He stepped into the hall to allow me to change. Alright, so we should be able to skip again. Let's see what happens next. What's fine? Oh, the eyes. They're fine, just... He stopped walking, folding his arms over his chest.
What is it? Do we need to go back to your room?
No! No. My eyes are fine.
Then what's troubling you?
This. All of it. Everything. Did you think because I'm here now it meant I'd instantly adapt? I may have agreed to come here, but it doesn't mean much when the alternative was... arguably worse.
I see. I'll bear that in mind.
He started walking again.
The place I wanted to take you to is just ahead.
I caught up to him and we continued on from there in silence. It's amazing how different the vibes are already. I'm just like much more, aggressive. Not aggressive. Confrontational, maybe? It's just really interesting. Ari was referring to a wide open doorway at the end of the hall. When we reached it, he gestured me through. Okay, are we... yeah, we're back. Aw, she started crying. I don't think she cried the first time, did she?
You seem distraught.
Of course I'm distraught! You grabbed me off the damn street, revealed to everyone I'm an Esper, and now my entire family had their lives turned upside down because of me! You can't possibly understand what any of this means for them! Much less what it means for me! I just... had an exam so I could keep studying! And now none of that matters. None of it. I'd have to be a robot to not be distraught. And you're standing there looking down at me like I've lost it. I hate this. My voice broke again as more tears of frustration welled up.
Perhaps it was a mistake to allow you out of your room so soon.
Something about the way he said that made me laugh. Oh, that's good. I wasn't sure what it was, just the ridiculousness of it. As if keeping me shut up in a hospital room would prevent me from being upset. As if he was completely incapable of grasping why any of this would frustrate me at all. Ari just watched me standing there laughing and crying in front of the window and said nothing else for a long time. You sure you still want to get together with this girl, Ari? The tears petered out, and I was left rubbing my eyes, sniffling and staring outside of the gorgeous day, wondering when things would feel normal again. Nope, not yet. It's beautiful.
Yes, it is.
After a very long silence, I felt a warm hand on my shoulder.
I am sorry, Morgan.
I looked up at him gratefully. It wasn't much, but I appreciated the gesture. Alright. And now we're back. Hello, Dr. Sassy. I shouldn't have exploded at him like that. He didn't deserve it. He, like everyone else here, was only doing his job, following orders or whatever. It wasn't as if he was the one who decided to do any of this. My problems coping weren't his fault. Am I making you uncomfortable? Everything makes me uncomfortable. This entire situation makes me uncomfortable. You included.
I see. An honest answer, as always.
He pressed the display to his chin, as he often did when he was thinking or mulling something over.
In spite of your discomfort with the situation, you don't hesitate to state your feelings. This is why I disagree with the assessment you may struggle to adapt. You have a healthy tendency to confront your problems head-on.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way at least.
Which is to say that you do not.
I don't know. This is all very new, and that doesn't change regardless if I'm here or in a comfortable environment. Comfortable isn't the same as familiar. It's not like going home.
Perhaps. I'll make a note that we continue to monitor your mental health going forward.
Great. Not everything is a medical condition.
On the contrary.
I can tell you differently.
We're just going to show you where you'll be staying. It's not like we're some kind of armed escort.
Despite that the situation was overwhelming, it was good to meet someone who seemed so friendly. That's good to know. Okay, not yet. As we stepped into the hall, Vanessa gave my arm a very gentle squeeze. I shot her a grateful smile, feeling a little like I'd found an ally. Interesting. So Ari's still kind of like in enemy territory so far. Very, very interesting. Not that I really felt I was among enemies. She's like, actually, you're wrong, girl. Let me tell you. I'm not saying that Ari's in enemy territory, but Ari didn't exactly radiate waves of comforting energy the way Vanessa did. Well, it's not Ari's fault.
I expected you to be more nervous.
Well, it isn't that I'm not nervous at all. But if I cry in a corner, it's not as if I get to go home.
I guess that's a practical way of looking at it. Though I hope you come to think of this place as home.
I suppose that would probably happen at some point. But right now, it was too far in the future for me to imagine. And somehow, the thought of acceptance also felt strangely sad. We passed the lounge Ari and I had gone to a few days ago and headed towards a lift at the end of the hall. That marked the end of what I'd seen of this place. Nope, not yet. Everything beyond this point was all new.
I could understand how you feel a little. Whether you liked being stuck in that room or not, the infirmary probably felt safe. Walking out here probably feels like stepping into enemy territory. Except we're not her enemy.
Okay, now we're back. How do we feel about the room this time? Okay, makes sense. We're gonna go emotional. It kind of makes me uncomfortable, to be honest. I mean, I struggled to explain it. The fact that people were sent to my place at the same time I was recruited means that I already had no choice about where I'd end up or what would happen. I spent several hours that day just thinking about how I was going to get home and everything would go back to normal. And it was all a pointless waste of energy. Everything was decided for me from the start. even if I'd somehow made it home, I would have found an empty apartment waiting for me. It had been foolish to even think I could get home, foolish to think there was anything but a single inevitable end to it all. I guess that sounds silly. It's just that having all my things here now means there's really no going back. Not that I thought there was. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I wasn't more excited to see all this.
Oh, sweetie, you don't have to apologize. It's normal to have conflicted feelings about everything. Endgame has very little experience with this sort of circumstance. It's not only the fact that you're a queen rank, or that you were only discovered as an adult. The fact that some violent factions were aware of you and were moving in to capture you also made the situation difficult. It's inevitable that mistakes were made.
I know that. I'm not trying to blame anyone.
Well, anyway, this is your new home. I hope you learn to love it eventually.
Okay, we should be back? Yes. I tried to stop the tears, but the lump in my throat finally grew too big to ignore, and a soft little sob escaped me as I buried my head in my hands.
Ari's like, oh no, she's crying again.
I wasn't just sad. It was all frustrating, infuriating, and generally overwhelming. And it seemed like tears were just going to be the chosen method for letting it out. Vaughn was on her feet in an instant, already coming towards me. Ari stood there as if he wasn't sure what to do or why I was upset. Just like, I don't know what to do right now. When Vaughn's arms went around me, I started crying harder. No one spoke for several minutes. Vanessa just stroked my back, her arm making a soft mechanical click as she moved her hand back and forth. Vaughn is such a mom. I love her. Sorry. I'm sorry. It's so stupid to cry like this.
It's not stupid to cry. You've been through an ordeal. It isn't as if we intended it to be an ordeal. Ari, why don't you kindly go wait in the hall if that's going to be your addition to the conversation?
He's like, I'm a head out. Sorry, Ari, I love you, but this isn't your forte. There was a moment's pause before he turned away, heading for the door. At first I thought he was angry, but it didn't seem like it. It seemed like he was doing as told. Watching him leave somewhat snapped me out of it, and I pulled away from Vaughn, wiping at my eyes. I'm sorry.
You don't have to apologize. It's okay for you to have feelings about all this, even negative ones. No one here is trying to pretend your life hasn't been completely turned upside down by all this.
She took me gently by the arm and led me to the sofa.
I can't imagine how difficult all this has been for you.
It's just that every time I try to think ahead about what's going to happen next, about what all this means for me, I...
Feel lost?
I nodded.
I think that's natural. Suddenly being told your life is going to be heading a different direction than you intended isn't something anyone wants to hear.
Will I have any say at all in the things I'll be doing? I mean, it's already decided I'm being put into this guard with you because of my rank, but what does that mean? I'm not interested in fighting or violence.
None of us is interested in those things. It just sometimes comes along with protecting people.
I know. I don't mean to say you're all violent or anything like that. That isn't what I mean.
I know that. And I know that we were trained to do this sort of thing while you weren't. Listen, I'm not going to pretend they won't encourage you to actually go on missions. But that doesn't mean you won't get any say at all. This may not be what you wanted, but you may still find it fulfilling. We help a lot of people.
I know that. I know I'll adapt. I know that. I took a deep breath and let it out slowly. Maybe I'm just mad that I got caught. I let out a bitter laugh. I managed to hide things for so long. even though I didn't know how significant the secret was. Then Endgame found me after I hid it for so long.
Maybe that's it.
I know this is a slight subject change, but what about my parents? How are they? And my brothers? I still haven't been able to contact them. It would help a lot if I could.
I don't know. I haven't kept track of that, but I'll look into it and at least get you an update.
I'd really appreciate it. She gave me another very gentle squeeze.
I'm sorry things turned out this way.
So am I. But in the end, you're right. If it feels like everything is broken right now, then my only choice is to rebuild it into something new.
Do you want me to stay with you a while longer, Morgan?
I shook my head. I'm sure you have better things to do.
Well, not really. It's not a problem to stay.
No. I think I'll be okay. I probably just need some time to decompress.
Alright. But I'm right next door. And you can also contact me through the internal message system.
Ah, that was right. I had partial access back now. I still couldn't link out from Endgame's network, but I could contact people within the organization now. I could also catch up on what had been going on in the outside world since I'd arrived. That might help distract me for a while. Vaughn stood, and I followed suit out of habit.
Why don't I stop back by around dinner and take you down to the lounge? I can introduce you to Mara. I think you'll like her.
That sounds great.
Hang in there, okay? And just remember that you aren't here alone.
I know. Thank you. She gave me another hug and let herself out. I shut the door behind her and slumped against it, letting out a shuddering sigh. Retreating back to the sofa, I flopped down and dragged a pillow over my face. Too much. It was all definitely too much. I should look around a little first, especially to check out the bedroom they mentioned before. And then, I was finally going to have my damn bath, even if it was days late. Because the infirmary only had showers, and my demand for a relaxing bubble bath had gone unheeded. Wow, Dr. Sosky, how could you? But now there was no one to stop me. And after that, I didn't know. Maybe I'd read. Maybe I'd go for a walk or something. For now, I was just going to go relax in a tub full of bubbles and try to forget everything for a while. Alright, now we're on chapter 3. Okay, I don't have the cautious trait. That's probably the one I picked, knowing me. What am I picking now? Analytical. Okay. Not emotional. Analytical. I'd have to pick the path that saves the most people. Whichever choice it might be.
And that's exactly what we try to do. I guess to the rest of the world, it sometimes looks like we don't care when we stay out of things. But the reality is we're just trying to protect as many people as possible. Or maybe we pick a strategy which makes a situation better than it would have been without our involvement, even if it's not a perfect solution. Then people judge you for that plan's failings without knowing all the alternatives were so much worse.
It sounds like a thankless job.
It can be. The Moirai have it tough because they drive a lot of these decisions and have to live with the consequences of them.
Her voice sounded so sad when she said that. I guess having a sister in the group meant she saw the fallout firsthand. Okay. Okay, this is about why we came here. I guess it seemed like the best option. I don't know where I'd be now if I'd chosen to go with Jack, or if I'd tried to strike out on my own. We'll find out one day. At worst, I'd be dead. I'm safe here, and I just need to look at it as an unexpected career change. An adventure. I can't say I love it or that I'm thrilled to be here, but I think I can get used to it and probably come to like it okay.
That's not a glowing assessment, but I understand.
At the very least, I'm done crying about it.
Hey, you can cry about it as often as you need to. No one will stop you.
If I keep letting myself cry about it, it'll just hold me back. Regardless of where I wanted to be or where I thought I'd be, I'm here now. I can find the good in that and keep moving forward. There we go. Hello, Magnus. Oh, Caleb won't be much help. I snapped my gaze back to Magnus, caught halfway between a glare and a laugh. Heat rushed to my cheeks at being called out, but I tried to ignore it. Instead, I just shrugged and smiled slightly. Who am I to disagree with the leader of the most important group on the planet?
Not like he's been around much the last few days anyway.
Well, sorry, Caleb. I'm not a child.
Oh? You've been acting like one ever since you got here.
You mean ever since you kidnapped me? I'm sorry, there wasn't time to read the Victim's Guide to Behaving Like a Mature Kidnappee before you shoved me into a car and teleported me to a decrepit building where I almost died. Twice.
You almost died. You knocked a damn building on our heads. Pretty sure you deserved it. We were just following our orders, which, by the way, you shitty bishops insisted on. Went bloody fantastic, didn't it? So thanks for that plan. Next time, let's just arrest someone the normal way, yeah?
I shot Vaughn a surprised look. She rubbed the back of her head sheepishly.
I told you the future is tricky, right?
It's so nice to see the new team getting along so well.
We're not.
Aren't we? Maybe not. What did we never think about? Ah, a game of chess. I guess I never thought about it. I'd never spent any time looking into the history of Endgame, its founders, or anything. I just knew it had been founded only a few decades after colonization. That was already hundreds of years ago. Okay. Ooh, we're getting a big chunk. Magnus can be a little eccentric. And he's definitely the only one here who's eccentric, so I can see why you were more worried about me meeting him than anyone else.
I'll admit we have some slightly weird people in our ranks.
Some? Slightly? That's a kind way of putting it. I thought there were some slightly weird people in my classes. Little did I know.
Oh? Are you saying historians and archaeologists tend to be a little eccentric?
I'm saying when you spend more time with books and artifacts than you do with people, sometimes your social skills get a little rusty. I mean, that's fair. Okay, now it's training day. Let's go. Am I being affectionate this time? No, analytical. Okay. I don't care about your shoulder. I don't care that you broke your elbow. That was a good match. With Caleb, I mean.
I lost.
Yes, I noticed that. But I just meant that it was impressive how you held out as long as you did. It's not like you lost right away.
I lost the first match as well.
Well, you're more of a support type, right? Caleb is a rook, so this is what he's good at.
All agents work hard to stay in top form. Holding a different rank is not an excuse.
Oh, I still thought it was a good match?
I have... For God's sake, just take the compliment, Ari! You are such a sore loser sometimes.
Vaughn, it's alright. You don't always have to tell him off when he does something like that.
Something like what?
Well... It's just you being you. Don't worry about it.
Don't even bother trying to explain. He won't get it. Get what? See? He's surprisingly dense when it comes to this sort of thing.
I'm noticing that. Are we good? We're good. Hi, Heidi. Bye, Heidi. Okay, this is about falling. Are we even talking about fighting anymore? It felt more like he was using this lesson as an opportunity to tell me it was time to accept the situation and move on. And, well, I was trying. I was here, not moping off in my room, wasn't I?
Morgan? Is something troubling you?
Sorry, it's just... It feels a little like we stopped talking about self-defense somewhere along the way.
There are many principles that can apply to more than just confrontations. But at this moment, we are simply discussing how to fall without physically injuring yourself.
Got it. Sorry for getting distracted.
Then let's keep going.
Yes. Okay, so nothing about what we talked about before. Okay, about how there are some similarities. Am I being analytical or stubborn? We're being stubborn this time. Okay. That checks out. I still don't think it's the same, Ari. There's a difference between getting bitten by something nasty because you're poking in a place where there haven't been people in thousands of years, or being in danger because you're prying into crumbling ruins. But you're teaching me to fall so that when someone inhibits my psi abilities with the intent to hurt me and throw me around, I'm better equipped to get up and throw them around.
I fail to see how it's different. The end result of potential harm is the same.
The danger from a potential accident is scary, but you can take safety precautions. A cliff may crumble, but it's not going to punch you. If you get hurt, it's probably because you were careless.
The same is true of this job. The training I intend to give you is similar to the safety precautions you might take before rock climbing, or going on an expedition to a dangerous location. I'm sure there are climbers who take precautions and still fall.
He had a point there. I couldn't help that it didn't feel quite the same. You're ignoring the psychological aspect, though. I never wanted a job where people would want to harm me, or one where I would have to harm others.
That isn't the purpose of our job. While it's true there are unavoidable conflicts that come with being an agent, our goal is always to help people. Yes, we sometimes have to fight, but it's so others can live in peace.
He set his hands on my shoulders and looked down at me seriously.
None of us will let harm come to you.
He said that, but I couldn't help but think of how this position was vacant for 10 years. And it wasn't like the previous queen retired. Damn. She died. I wasn't sure how to express that. And to him, it probably just sounded like I was whining anyway.
For the time being, simply focus on the task before you. During the rest of the session will be...
Okay, message time. When I heard them laughing and whispering, I politely told them that if they had any questions at all, I'd be glad to answer them. That was enough to shut them up, surprisingly. Damn. They might not be that much younger than me, but they were still younger than me, and acted like it. Whether or not they liked it, I outranked them in more ways than one. I would not be looked down on by the people here just because I was new. Damn, get it, girl. I approve. When I thought about what she said about how there was not much more to Ari than work, I couldn't help but wonder if it was because that was true for a lot of people here. That could be why some younger agents were so competitive. I'm glad I'm already used to not having a social life, I guess. Interesting, so we didn't get to defend him this time. Am I waiting for Ari to come back for training? Nope, I'm leaving. Alright, bye Ari. Sorry, Ari. Vaughn grabbed my arm and started to pull me towards the door. Having already learned it was useless to fight against her, I just followed. We were about halfway to the lounge before I realized that's where we were heading. I hesitated, wondering if I could talk her into going to the garden or somewhere else. Vaughn immediately noticed that I'd slowed my pace.
You okay?
Is it possible to go somewhere other than the lounge on this floor?
Why? Is there a problem with this one?
Not a problem, really, but there are usually other agents there.
Well, it is there for agents to use. You having a problem with someone?
Well, those agents that have taken an interest in my training. My presence seems to annoy them.
Let them be annoyed.
I'm not interested in creating waves here, especially not negative ones. I want to focus on training, that's all.
You've already created waves, Morgan. No getting around that. Listen, these kids are all young, and there's a lot of competition for promotions and team assignments when any new group graduates. Everyone wants to be selected for a high-ranking team, and they have to work hard to prove themselves. There might be some envy aimed at someone who
got to bypass the system and get placed on one of the top teams in Endgame.
Hey, that doesn't only apply to you, just so you know. Any ranked Esper is going to be at the head of the list for team recruits. That goes for kids like Birdie and Casey as well. That's one reason the infantry are all vying for promotions.
I don't mind competition at all. Competition for prime tier spots was really fierce too, and we all worked hard to be in that top percentage. If there was someone who showed up and took one of those slots without the hard work, I'd have been pretty frustrated. So I get their frustration.
There probably won't be anyone in the lounge this time of day anyway. By now, most everyone is at training or work. And if anyone looks down their nose at you, I'll punch them.
Please do not punch anyone on my behalf.
It's my job as your bishop.
I've seen your job description. That isn't in it.
We can add it.
No one is punching anyone.
Aww.
Vaughn's so violent. We heard the voices before we actually reached the lounge. One angry, the other soft and low. Oh, is this when Heidi confronted Ari? Aw, dang. The soft voice definitely sounded like Ari. The other one, I wasn't sure. So much for everyone being at work. I tugged Vaughn's arm, trying to pull her back the way we came. It sounds like there's an argument. Let's not go in.
Aren't you curious?
Not enough to step in the middle of an argument, no. If Ari was willing to be late for it, I'm sure it's not something we should interrupt.
You are no fun at all. Ari has been a terrible influence.
We started to retreat, but didn't get far when the angry voice rose loud enough we could plainly hear what was being said. Training Morgan is a complete waste of your time! She doesn't even want to be here! I froze. What Ari said in response to that, I didn't hear. Why do you keep saying that? I'm just asking for help. That isn't fair! How can you shut me down like that? Why does she get special treatment? Abort! I tugged Vaughn's arm, trying to pull her away faster. This was not a conversation I was supposed to hear. But it was too late. Seconds later, Heidi burst out of the room. Her face was red, with anger or verging tears. I couldn't tell which. She stopped short when she saw me and Vaughn standing in the hall. Guilt flashed over her face, but was almost immediately replaced by outrage. Were you eavesdropping on us?
Girl, with the way you were shouting, we didn't have to eavesdrop. Everyone on this level heard that tantrum.
Heidi shot me a poisonous glare as if I was the one who said it and stormed past. I'm not apologizing for what I said. It's true. She stormed past us without another word. Great.
You okay?
Yeah, I already knew she felt that way. It's just frustrating because there's not much I can do about it.
But damn. I guess it doesn't help much that the one guy she was after was specifically chosen to be your trainer instead of me or Caleb. What are you two doing here?
He'd come to the door after Heidi and was now standing there, giving me that disappointed dad look of his. No, not the disappointed dad.
Eavesdropping, apparently.
He ignored her and came towards me.
Why didn't you wait for me in the training room?
Hey!
Don't you ignore me and start lecturing her. I dragged her out of there when you were over an hour late. And not answering messages, Mr. Teacher. I was sidetracked. Oh yeah, I can see that. We heard your little lover's quarrel. That's hardly what it was. I was on my way to the training room when Heidi asked to speak with me. It sounded more like she wanted to shout, not speak. Indeed. However, now that's over with. So perhaps we can go back to the training room and get on with the session. And I would appreciate it if you stopped trying to instill bad habits in her, Vanessa.
I'm not some impressionable child. Good grief.
I'm going to instill every single bad habit I have if you keep not showing up for your training sessions. It was not my intention to be late.
Let's just get back to the training room. It wasn't like I wanted to come to the lounge and hear something like that anyway.
You sure you're okay?
I'm fine. I really am. I'll see you later, Vaughn.
Yeah. Don't let this guy work you too hard.
I'll try. Ari and I walked in silence most of the way back. I cast a sidelong glance his way, noting that, on top of everything else, he looked exhausted. Are you sure you want to do my training session today?
Even if you'd prefer not to train, I have no intention of going against my directive to work with you daily.
You don't have to assume I'm trying to get out of it. I was working when Vaughn arrived earlier, even though you weren't there. And I wasn't suggesting a day off. I was going to suggest allowing someone else to take over. Even Caleb offered to do it on days you were busy.
Do you really wish to train with Caleb?
Well, not really.
Then it should be fine for you to continue to work with me instead.
Ugh. How did I get it through his stupid head that I was worried about him? Clearly not by talking to him like a reasonable person. We were silent the rest of the way to the training room. Alright. Oh, the guard is being called in. With the current state of my training? My heart went into overdrive. An assignment? Was I being sent to Sierra with some of the others? Already? I was so not prepared for that. Ari's hand closed gently on my arm.
I don't know what is going through your head right now, but it's probably nothing like what you're imagining. No one is going to send you into a dangerous situation as you are now. I believe we had this conversation.
You're right. Sorry.
We won't know until we go in. The meeting is in 15 minutes. Perhaps you should take the opportunity to get cleaned up. It might be wise to change into your uniform as well.
Eh? Yeah. And he's walking us back. Okay, now we're starting to get a little more cordial with each other. That's good. Okay, so she's like, you know, you can take some time off. Other people have offered to help train me, you know. Good. You don't always have to push yourself so hard, you know.
I'll bear it in mind.
He nodded slightly and left me at my door. Eh? Oh, okay. And now she's, doing her thing. To my surprise, she didn't appear to relish the opportunity to demonstrate this for everyone. Perhaps it was just being the center of attention. It wasn't fun. Sometimes I didn't understand what went on in Ari's head. Given our interaction a few days ago, I didn't understand what he expected her demonstration to prove. It seemed like she didn't wait quite as long as I had before I felt the burst of energy whirl away from her towards the target. It hit, crinkling the metal like paper. Definitely stronger than mine. My psi was supposed to be greater than hers, though, so why was her psi burst stronger? Heidi's eyes narrowed as a small, pleased smile formed. There were murmurs from the audience at the door. I gritted my teeth in frustration and annoyance. It's not like I was particularly competitive, not in the sense of wanting to outdo other people rather than just doing my personal best, but I was really irritated at the moment.
Thank you, Heidi.
Okay, so she didn't really pay attention to what Heidi did that time. I tried to tune everyone out as I studied the target, thinking about what Ari had said before, about how I couldn't be afraid of my own abilities. Okay. Respecting my abilities isn't the same as fearing them, though. That was probably the point Ari was trying to get across. There was no need to be recklessly confident, but that didn't mean the alternative was paralyzing fear. I had to find a middle ground. As I stood there thinking about it, Ari had Heidi return to the door. He leaned down to me again. Alright, now's my chance. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna try. I'm gonna be flexible and try. Do or do not. There is no try. I wasn't sure I wanted to, but there wasn't a choice. I try it one more time. Now that Heidi had demonstrated she was better at it than I was, there wasn't much to lose. Why does it matter anyway? Is there even a need to prove myself to people? But I guess I didn't need to ask that. Of course there was. There always was. I didn't need people looking up to me, but they were expecting to be able to. At the very least, I could try to make sure they weren't disappointed anymore. And make sure that if they had to accept someone swooping in and stealing a job they wanted from under them, they could at least feel like that person deserved it. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Right. I didn't have to be the strongest Esper ever, just stronger than a beginner. I took slow breaths until I could see my psi energy in my mind again, languid blue waves rolling off my body. All I need is for this thing to not run wild. If I keep it condensed, the damage should be minimal. And it's not like I had to throw it with everything I had anyway. It just had to damage the target, nothing more. I gathered my psi in front of me, visualizing a tightly packed ball of energy. From there, I imagined throwing the energy towards the target, trying to funnel it down a narrow column. It was stronger than before, and this time I didn't try to cancel it. It slammed into the target with a bang, blowing off a sizable chunk from one side. There were a few murmurs from the door. I let out a relieved exhale. Hey, we didn't destroy the wall? Good job! Hooray! That was exactly what I wanted it to be. Strong, stronger than before anyway, and tightly controlled. I shot a glance Ari's way. Satisfied?
That was satisfactory, yes. It is a definite improvement from before. Though I'd still like you to stop holding back so much. But at least you didn't attempt to recall it at the last minute this time. And you may have quelled some doubts about your skills.
Okay, hooray, I'll take that. Hello, Magnus's mom. What's happening? Okay, this isn't the only annoying thing you do.
I see. In that case, I assume you do not want to have dinner together tonight.
Why would you assume that?
Because I assume you are not a masochist.
Well, you assume a lot. I'm not, but I don't mind having dinner together.
Then I'll leave you to rest for now, but I'll return at 19 o'clock.
Sure, I'll see you then. Okay, so she wasn't flustered with the dinner invitation this time. Didn't even, cross her pretty little head, yeah, sure, let's go have dinner.
Very good.
He stood and headed for the door. I followed behind him to let him out. And when I was alone again, I let out a little happy squeal and curled up on the sofa to read my mother's message and finally reply to her. I needed to find a way to thank Charisse for that. Maybe I'd ask Ari about that during dinner as well.